Welcome back to the Man Up Podcast, where we call men to step into their God-given identity and live with courage, strength, and purpose. Today, Terry is joined by Johnny Mack, husband, father, teacher, outdoorsman, and host of the SoulSeekers podcast. In this conversation, you'll hear Johnny share how hunting transformed his life, why discomfort is the key to growth, and what it looks like to live boldly in your calling as a man, husband, and father. This is an episode about purpose, legacy, and answering the call placed on your soul. Let's jump in.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Man Up Adventure podcast. Today, I'm hoping that we can inspire some men to embrace the outdoors, challenge themselves, and grow into the men they were called to be. I'm your host, Terry Gwaltney, and today's guest is someone who really embodies adventure, faith, personal transformation. Joining me is Johnny Mack. He's the founder and the host of the SoulSeekers podcast. Johnny's mission is all about transforming lives through hunting, through the outdoor experience, and just reconnecting with what really matters. Johnny, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Terry. Really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. I know it's going to be of a real interest. We have a lot of avid outdoorsmen, hunters, just sportsmen in general that listen to the show. So let's just start right from the beginning. Like for those maybe that don't know Johnny Mack or what SoulSeekers is all about and kind of what led you to even kind of get involved in that direction in this whole movement. Why don't you just start there and catch us up real quick?
I appreciate it. Well, guys, thanks for checking out this episode of the podcast. I'm excited to share what I've done and what I'm doing currently with all of you. The whole idea is that inspired people inspire other people. And so when we live an inspired life, then we get to be able to let our light shine before men and really set this world on fire. I'm a father, married to my beautiful wife of 12 years. I have 3 young boys, 10, 8, and 6. Originally from the state of Washington, and I've been a school teacher for just shy of 20 years. Originally, I was a physical education and health teacher in middle school. And now I'm currently teaching social studies down here in the state of Texas in a disciplinary campus. So no windows, uniforms, metal detectors, and dealing with 70% of my population currently will end up in prison. Just statistic how it's driven.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty substantial. I was raised in a house that I thought was pretty normal. Turns out that, you don't know what you don't know until you grow up and you identify what it is that you want in life, which is a big theme that I like to talk about on my SoulSeekers podcast. And from there, I knew something was missing. I was kind of like an all-American boy. Had an older brother, played sports, was successful in the classroom academics and in athletics, ended up playing college football and college lacrosse. I was a quarterback. And at some point, sports leave you or you leave sports. Like it's one of those things that, if your identity is wrapped up in something that you are playing, then once that ends, where's your identity found? Obviously, this is the Man Up podcast. We want to have our identity in Jesus Christ and the idea of that we're made in his image. But I was searching for something. I was searching for something that I could call my own. And so I always had this call upon my soul. And that call was to go out into the wilderness, to be wild, to live courageously. I always, imagine the Lone Ranger on his horse or like a John Wayne flick, like out on the open prairie with nothing but, courage, grit, determination to keep you going and moving. And I had that call upon my soul. And so that was when I was like, you know what? I'm going to take up hunting. And hunting transformed my life. It was the very first thing that I ever did where I chose myself. I played sports because my dad was a coach. I got into teaching because my father was a teacher. I did a lot of stuff to appease other people or because it was the easy way or it was, familiar. But part of growing up and being a man and stepping into your manhood and your power and your authority as a man, a husband, a father is owning things because you want them, not because of other people. We never,
Yeah.
I get tired of living life of shoulds. I don't should on people, and people shouldn't should on me.
No, that's very well said. Hey, let me ask you a question real quick. At what specific moment did you feel that calling?
I always had it through my youth. My father actually raised me to do some backpacking, and was always fishing. Being an angler, which was a lot of fun. But you know,
There's a
there's
difference.
yeah, there's a difference about taking the life of an animal and knowing that you're going to sustain yourself and your family off of it for quite some time. And then the challenge, right? Like, you can go to most every water hole and there's going to be some type of fish in there. And whether it's eggs or power bait or a worm, you know, you're going to be able to catch a fish. Hunting is that whole other side of it. Is like, okay, I can kill something, but now what? Or how do I find it? Right? Like,
Yeah.
where can I hunt, or where, all this stuff. And so it really got me going into, there is something inside of me that needs more, that I'm not getting from the 9 to 5 concrete jungle mundane life, and that I needed a life outside. Life is better outside. you know God said, go shout it from a mountaintop. Jesus went into the wilderness. Like, you go and find yourself when you put yourself in wild places. And to experience wild, fantastic things, you got to go to fantastic places. And a part of that goes hand in hand with being a hunter, because as a man, we are called to be providers. And there's no better way to provide than to be able to feed yourself and feed others.
It's good. One of the things I love about your mission is how you connect hunting to something bigger. So talk to the audience a little bit. It's like, how does hunting help men and women reconnect themselves with God? Because I know you have a strategy for that. So
that's a great question. One of the things is in a society of constant buzz and instant gratification and now, drive through, fast food, fast internet, fast downloads, fast like connectivity, bam, bam, bam. How do we go about pausing and slowing down? Right? It's like, okay, well, I scheduled myself 30 minutes of pray and read time in the morning to connect with God. And I'm doing that in the middle of, other chores, or, some people don't like waking up early in the morning or having morning routines or whatever it is. Like, so how do you go about connecting with God? Because one of the things is that your relationship is your relationship. It's not your wife's relationship with God. It's not your parents' relationship with God. It's not your pastor's or anyone else's relationship with God. It's your relationship. And that's supposed to be interactive. And so if you cannot remove yourself from the buzz of society, the constant activation of like just being connected, then how are you going to slow down and realize and be able to ask the questions that you need to identify? No one's going to know you better than yourself. And if you don't provide opportunity for you to know yourself, then that's not a good thing. And then you don't show up being your best version of yourself for your spouse, for your children, for your coworkers, for, whatever it is.
Yeah, one of the things we were talking off air about the Man Up Adventure Camp that we do each fall. One of the things that amazed me the first year that we did this is we always create space on the second day. There's a big talk underneath the tent. The guys have jammed out with some worship with the band, and then they're challenged with a talk, but then they're just sent out into the woods with a little field guide in their pocket. And it's like, this is solitude time. So as you're walking, don't talk to anybody. And for the next hour, find a rock, find a tree, get by the creek, and just you hang out with God and just write what he's talking to you about. And I totally underestimated the impact that had. You chart out a weekend and you feel like on paper these are going to be the transformational moments. And there were a lot of those moments, but that one carried a lot of weight. And I think it's simply because people don't do, especially as men, what we're sitting here talking about. You don't push life on pause intentionally and just wait. It feels uncomfortable, awkward, out of place.
Yeah.
And it's really what's missing.
Well, you mentioned the word uncomfortable, right? It's through discomfort is through our uncomfortable experiences that provide growth, right?
Yeah.
Like if I'm lifting weights, I'm not going to get stronger if I'm not uncomfortable in the weight in which I'm pushing or lifting, right? Or I'm not going
Yeah.
to get better at speaking if I'm not going through the uncomfortable moments of learning how to speak publicly or to crowds, or address uncomfortable moments with a coworker or a boss or an employee, or you know, it's through
Yeah.
the discomfort in which growth happens. And so when you are going out into the wilderness, that wilderness provides discomfort. And a lot of times it's being by yourself. A lot of people are not comfortable being alone. They're not comfortable in silence. They're not comfortable sitting still and listening, and not just listening to nature, but listening to themselves, listening to God. How do I hear God? You got to provide opportunity. Be still and know that I am God, is, straight out
Yeah.
of his.
Yeah. No, that's good. Let's dig into that a little bit, because I think a lot of men are struggling. They're feeling lost. They're feeling disconnected. Or there's some people today, you're listening and you're just feeling kind of numb. You're looking for meaning, but you don't always know where to turn. So from your perspective, I'm curious, what do you think are some of the biggest challenges that men are facing now?
That's a great question. That's a huge question. Um, a few things. Men are raised to be first and foremost, but what tough is not defined, right? And so whether toughness could be like you skin your knee and you got to tough it out, like, yeah, you're okay, like, but what about when our family's on the line and we have deadlines to meet and our marriage isn't going so good, or our financials are really kicking in and it's getting super skinny and tight at home, and happy wife, happy life, like the wife's not happy. And so what men are missing in their life, from my perspective, is self-discovery. They need to understand who they are, right? So God says, you know, that we are made in his image. Well, if we're made in his image and God is a creator, then that means we're co-creators with him. And if we're not creating, then we're not living out our mission of what we're called to do in this world. So self-discovery, identifying what it is that gets us going, that gets us to want to create in this world. And we're always creating. We're always creating. Whether we are creating a legacy of love, a legacy of community, a legacy of intentionality, vulnerability, or we're creating a legacy that is going to pass down generational sin from one father to another son to their children, and then just repeat that cycle. And so as men, we're meant to be cycle breakers. We're meant to break cycles, and that starts with self-discovery. It starts with courage. It starts with knowing thyself, right? What is it, Socrates? To know thyself is the beginning of wisdom. You have to know yourself. And a lot of
Yeah.
times we get in, especially because I'm a public educator, we go through life, no one ever asks us what we want. What do you want? Like, I didn't actually care to be a school teacher. I just love sports. But I didn't have a father that said, what is it that you want? Here are the things that are important. Okay. So, how are you going to accomplish these, or how are you going to achieve these, and make sure that you do what you need to do? So, slowing down, pausing, connecting with God, asking yourself tough questions, because no one's going to know what you want except for yourself. And if you don't provide that opportunity, you're going to
Mm.
end up being left disappointed, unfulfilled, not creative, and you're going to be constantly searching for something that to, band-aid your soul, or band-aid your heart, or band-aid your marriage or your job or your career, because you're not content with the blessings in which you have.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I would add to that, there's a whole lot of personal responsibilities involved in that, because if you're still asking those same questions and haven't figured it out, you're probably pointing to other people on why you're not happy in certain areas of your life, when it's really it's a personal decision that it has a lot of personal responsibility. Too many men I look and they drift, and we just having this conversation earlier, but you put a boat on the water and you have a sail on it. As long as you have the component of the boat, the water, and the wind, the boat's going to go somewhere. The problem is it may not end up where you intended for it to. And I think as men, we have a choice, and it comes with personal responsibility. Are you going to drift, take the easy way out? Or are you going to steer? And so I can't steer if I don't know where I want to end up. And so I need to have a vision. And then out of that kind of comes my strategy and my mission on how I'm going to get there. Too many guys are coasting. This is not a time to coast. Your family's depending on you to step up, not to coast.
Well,
Coworkers.
Without vision, people perish, right?
Absolutely.
And if we don't have vision and goal, right? Like, I teach SMART goals, right? You got to have a goal that's specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. That's what makes it a SMART goal. Well, if you don't have a goal, then you might as well just be living life with your eyes closed or in the dark, right? Because you're not going to be able to make progress towards anything. And then people forget this. Sorry, Terry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. It was a great thought. I was just going to say, the other thing is if you don't have that goal, you don't have a point of direction on where you're at. How far am I missing that? How much do I need to adjust? What do I need to do to get back on track? You have to have the goal to kind of be that North Star, to know which direction you're going to be headed to. So,
yeah, it's real fascinating. But I will say, in tying it back into the outdoors and the hunting, is it's a double-edged sword in a good way, right? Like, you get to be alone in nature, and you get to have your hunt be whatever type of hunt you want, whether it's more of a community style hunt and you're waterfowl hunting and you're laughing and you're joking and you're kicking it with friends, or your solitude out in the wilderness pursuing big game animals. So you get whatever it is that you're searching for, and there's opportunities for people to grow in that. But through that opportunity of identifying yourself and your needs and your connectivity with God and man and nature and his creation, you're also providing an opportunity to feed your family. And when I got to had the basket of fish and loaf of bread, right? What was the best thing that he did? He fed people. People. He brought them together, and he said, "Here, let me provide for you." And that is, as a husband, as a father, as a man, being a provider is powerful to a person's soul. To know, like, instantly, like, hey, this is for you, and you get to live through the death of something else, which exactly what Jesus died on the cross for. Through his death brings the life for all of mankind. Right?
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. So how does what you're doing with SoulSeekers, help move the needle on the stuff that we're talking about? So connect the dots for us. What are you doing through that organization that helps facilitate this stuff that we're talking about?
So ironically, I actually am not necessarily like a religious organization, right? Like, I don't have Bible verses plastered on my website, or I talk to people. I'm really big in self-discovery. So we actually have 6 pillars to SoulSeekers. So the first one is mentorship, right? So no greater love a man hath than this, lay down his life for another. The idea that mentorship, all it is giving. Mentorship is love. It's whether it's giving time, energy, resources. That's what mentorship is. So we stand on mentorship. The second one is community, right? 1 can chase 1,000, 2 can chase 10,000. These are all biblical principles here.
Yeah.
When one person falls down, the other is there to pick them up, right? So the idea of community, we are people that are meant to be in community by nature. And so it sucks going life alone. Being a lone wolf sounds cool until you're all alone. And even this fact, like, to be able to be like, hey man, did you see that? That was awesome. Versus you could use support or, love or affection or whatever. The third one is self-discovery. And when we are discovering ourselves and knowing ourselves, we already pretty much hit on this, then we end up being a better person for everyone else, right?
Yeah.
When we're on an airplane, they say when the oxygen mask drop from the ceiling, put yours on first before you put them on other people. If we are not good and taken care of and grounded in who we are, and what we're doing in life, then we're not going to be very good for other people. The fourth one is natural connections. I believe in the healing power of nature. God created nature to heal us and for us to challenge ourselves and grow. So getting out in nature, whether it's actually going barefoot in nature or touching the ground, like how often in life do you uninsulate yourself and actually connect with God's creation, right? We're always standing on carpet, or we're always in rubber soled shoes, or we're all, like we get to actually sit on dirt, touch the dirt, touch trees, touch fur, and how often are our hands truly getting dirty per se, or connecting with the creation in which God made? Then the fifth principle pillar is conservation. What we have, making sure that it is good enough for the next generations. If we want hunting to last for generations to come, then we got to invest in the hearts and lives of other people. We don't take everything, we take the surplus so that it can continue to grow, right? And then this one is primal adventure. But you're saying, like, how do I connect the dots to inspire people? Is what I do is I provide them an opportunity, and I show them that they too can do this. You too can be courageous in your own life. You too get to live a life of adventure. You as well have the world at your fingertips. Whatever you want to accomplish, the American dream, it is possible. Think it, dream it, envision it, believe it, speak it. Just like God tells us to speak life. He said, let there be light, and there was light. Let there, be the birds of the air, the creepy crawly things on the earth. He spoke it. And when we speak things, the power of God is with us. And that's, we live out his mission.
Listen, for a guy who's never picked up a bow or a rifle or a handgun, how would you help him take that first step into the outdoors?
That's a great question. Have you ever done that before, or is that you?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
First thing is just be courageous enough to go. Just do it. There's a saying that it all starts with a daisy, right? A daisy Red Ryder BB gun, right? Christmas story. You'll shoot your eye out. Be careful. Well, that Red Ryder BB gun is everything to a little boy and everything to a man, because in the wilderness, without your ability to defend, kill, fight off, whatever, it's all reliant to the rifle, right? So whether it's the bow, rifle, or just getting going, like, how do you get started? Go to a local gun range. Reach out to me, soulseekersnation.com. Go to contact us page. I'll spend time talking with you one-on-one. We'll email, ask you whatever questions. I don't know it all, but what I do know, I'll share with you. And one of the coolest things is in today's modern day age of technology, is there's no excuse not to know how to do something.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Everything is at our fingertips through the digital age. So getting connected with a conservation organization, go to your local sporting goods store. Say, hey, I'm brand new. I want to get into this. Whether it's archery, whether it's rifle, whether it's, shotgun and upland bird hunting, like, just take that first step. Be curious, and curiosity will lead to a whole lot more.
Good advice. Good advice. You know, one thing, guys, as you're listening today, and one of the things that we always want to try to do is, you know, I think too many of us that are listening today, you've eliminated yourself from doing something significant for the kingdom because you don't see yourself as a missionary living overseas. You don't see yourself as the pastor that gets up and preaches in front of a big audience every week, or the guy leading, you know, worship at your church, or whatever the case might be. You just don't see yourself in that role. Some of you, maybe that is your call. You just need to step out and you need to get around some other people. And you just need to do what you're called to do. But there's a whole lot of people that are called to go out and just be equipped by the church to go be the church. And a lot of that, the clues for what you were created to do, can be found in your passions. And some of you guys are listening today, and, you know, I've got some of my sons, I mean, I'm trying to think here, they hunt deer with a pistol, black powder, a bow, a crossbow, a shotgun, and now a rifle, you know, in the state that we live in. And son-in-law the same way. They're passionate about that. There's guys that are listening that want to learn about that because dad was absent, or it just wasn't dad's thing or his hobby. And those create opportunities to share your passion, but then also speak into the lives of other men, because it just comes up. You just don't sit in a duck blind or go to a deer camp and don't hear about what's going on in another dude's life. You may just find out that, you know, he's asking questions now from a trusted guy about, man, how do you make that marriage thing work? Because I honestly look forward to getting this blind every year and coming to this camp just to escape. You always talk about how, you know, you want to get back home, or you talk about your marriage in a fond fashion. Guys, don't underestimate the opportunities that can come out of the passions that you've got. Listen, if you were spearfishing, there'd be guys that would want to go learn how to spearfish. If you're listening to this today, I'm one of them. You know, you'd be around some of those guys, you know, while you're there, and it puts you in a place of influence in your life. So talk to us just really quickly as we start to land this thing. How do you see discipleship in what you're doing just playing out in your work?
So, first off, you got to understand that you as an individual, and I'm speaking to every listener right here, each one of you is special. Each one of you is loved. Each one of you is made in the image of God. And God is powerful, which means you are powerful. And you carry power with you everywhere you go and everything that you do. And whether or not you stand on that power and stand in that power, that's a choice. And everything comes down to choices. We get to choose how we want to show up in this world. Do we want to show up strong, courageous? Do we want to show up as cowards, lackluster? And so we choose how we show up. And it doesn't matter how small or insignificant you believe yourself to be. One of the greatest things that I had a Hall of Fame football coach tell me, Frosty Westering from the state of Washington, won multiple national championships. He said, make the big time where you are. You don't have, you know, you may be what I hate using the word just. You may be just a plumber, just a teacher, just a banker, just a builder. First off, remove the word just from your vocabulary, because the tongue has the power to speak life and death. And how you speak creates the world that you live in, right? I'm no good. I can't. I won't. I never. No, I can. I will. I'm on my way. I'm going to. And so you make the big time where you are. And you let your light shine before men, before mankind. That wherever you go, you are being your best version of yourself, not for other people, but for you, because you're worth it. You have value. You are needed in this life. You are needed in this world. You have the ability to impact, change, transform, and reshift somebody's trajectory in their entire life just through a small conversation, just through some time spent with them, just on how you are. Because what we know in society right now is that there's always someone watching.
Yeah, for
There's
sure.
always someone watching, and that you have the ability to let your light shine, stand in truth, stand in justice, stand in power, and know who you are. And let that be a guiding light in the darkness, like a lighthouse for people to be like, come unto me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. I will give you peace. I will provide you with the things you need, not because you know it all, but because you are connected with yourself and with your creator, and you know what truth is.
Yeah, that's good. So what's next for Soul Seekers? Any new projects, hunts, events we should know about?
Oh yeah. So SoulSeekers is always gonna keep rolling along. Those of you who don't know, I release a podcast every week, and I film my hunts and release those. I'm in the middle of releasing season 5 on Carbon TV right now. Carbon TV, for those of you who do not know, is like Netflix, but for hunting, fishing, and the outdoors, and it's completely free. It's always on, and you can always find it. You can download the app on Apple TV, Roku, Fire Stick. You can go to carbontv.com. They have podcasts on there and episodes, but I actually have one of my partner companies, Huxworks Suppressors. They're coming down tomorrow night, and we're going to be taking a guy on a brand new, he's never hunted before, going to mentor him on the ways of what I like to call Texas safari. So we're going to be pursuing hogs, but in Texas, as long as that animal's open season, we're going to be willing to shoot it. So fur bears, coyotes, foxes, bobcats, raccoons, hogs. That's what we're
Predator
pursuing.
hunts. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, listen, I want to land the plane with this. How does Johnny Mack want to be remembered when his time here on Earth is over? Like, what kind of mark do you want to leave that can't be erased?
It's a great question. And these types of questions that we need to ask ourselves, and not forget that, because and that's what being alone in the wilderness provides, whether it's the back 40 or public lands or whatever. Like, these questions, ask ourselves. I want people to know that I loved God and I loved his creation, and I wanted to share that with the world. So we're given a skill set. It says biblically that, those who take those talents and hide them and bury them in the ground, they're not multiplying it. They're not reaping that reward. I want to take what I've been given and multiply it and bless it and leave a legacy of love in this world, and let people know through what I've built that they can go out and do whatever it is, and anything is possible.
Well said, my friend. Johnny, I appreciate you being on the show. I encourage you guys, we'll throw some show links into this podcast where you can go find him, learn a little bit more about Soul Seekers. I really want to encourage you, take some inspiration from his story. A guy that wasn't in hunting, who's a school teacher, feel like he's paid to be indoors, for the majority of his work week, has found a way to escape from that, provide, found a sense of fulfillment and purpose, and he's impacting other men by doing something he's passionate about, and you have that same opportunity. We'll see you next time on the Man Up Podcast.
Thanks for tuning in to the Man Up Podcast. We hope today's episode challenged and inspired you to become a better man, father, and husband. Remember, failure isn't final, and you're not alone on this journey. Mark your calendars for October 24th through the 26th, 2025, and join us at Man Up Adventure Camp in Stonefort, Illinois. It's a 3-day, off-the-grid experience designed to help you find purpose, overcome failure, and leave a legacy. No camping experience required, just a willingness to grow. Register now and find more resources at manupadventure.com. Stay connected with us, subscribe to our YouTube channel at Man Up Adventure Camp, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Man Up Adventure, rate and review the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to help more men find their tribe. Thank you for being part of this movement. Let's continue to live on purpose and leave a mark that can't be erased.